I'd like to welcome everybody to the Audit of Claims meeting. This evening, we have 3 different guests here. I think we'll start with Kelly this evening first.
So I just wanted, instead of finding a board member, every year, the budget hearing in Herkimer is a Wednesday night. And Thursday, I pick up the taxes. They normally start printing on Wednesday, and so they're ready Thursday morning, most times. It's a lot of sorting. Like, we are the largest county, and when I pick them up, a lot of times you're like, oh, you're wet, because it fills the back of my car and the back seat. And it's 5 days of me sorting escrows, address changes, sales, before they even get to the point of envelope. And there's 2 holidays in there that I would like to enjoy with my family. So I called, the meeting was December 11th to approve the budget, and I was told they weren't sure if they were going to be printing or not. I'm like, well, what do you mean? You always print. I said, isn't the budget hearing tonight? And they said, yes. So Information Services, who prints the tax bills, they were amazing. It's not them at all. They have to follow what they're told. And when I called on Thursday at approximately 10 a.m., I was told that they had just started to print our taxes. And I'm like, okay. And then Beth Sadlin called me. I should have asked her if she was returning my phone call from 6 years ago, but
who was that again?
I had until after.
Kelly, who was that again? Beth Sadler.
She's
Beth
like
Sadler.
real property.
Yeah, real property.
She shouldn't have even been involved in this conversation.
Okay.
Is what. So she called me wondering. She said she told Information Services that she would call me, and she was wondering if I really needed the duplicate copies. Now, this is my 14th year. You guys, the town of Webb, have been getting duplicate copies since the beginning of time. And I said, yes, I use them every day. People come in and don't have their tax bill. I have to scan one in and email it, whatever. And she said, well, we could give you a CD. And I said, we tried that one year. I have one computer, and when I'm in the middle of a huge deposit and somebody calls or comes in, it's not easy to get out and hoping that it saves my deposit, because, you know, shit happens. So I said, I want my duplicate copies. I can't, it's not coming out of your paycheck, right? So we went back and forth, and she said that she kept saying they wouldn't let us print yesterday. And she just went on, and I finally said, who is they wouldn't let you start printing on Wednesday? And she said, our friend, Mr. Wallace. And I said, oh, I don't like him. And she said, well, it's not you. And I said, they have always printed, and I always pick them up on Thursday. So she said, well, you don't have to call Information Services back. I said, I'm calling them back. That's what me and Information Services do. Like, Beth Sadlin has never been involved in this process. Why she got involved this year, I have no idea. So I called Information Services at like 1 o'clock, and they were very apologetic, and they said they weren't allowed to print on Wednesday. And Beth told them that Mike, I think his last name is Testa, who's the department head at Information Services. So Beth said that Mike said they'd be ready in an hour and a half. That conversation never took place. I don't know where she got the hour and a half or why she said Mike Testa said that, because that conversation never happened. And so the gentleman from Information Services who I was speaking to, he said, I wish Mike hadn't said that to you. And I said, okay, well, that conversation never happened. I don't know where Beth got that from. And he said, oh, that makes me feel better, because there was no way we were going to get you done in an hour and a half. And so I told him I appreciated everything they could do for me. It's just a lot of work that I needed to start doing, and they hadn't even started to print, you know. And then they were told that my second duplicate copies, I don't know if you guys, so the back counter, that's where all the duplicates. They were told at Information Services that they needed to be folded, like the ones they get mailed. I said, no, please don't fold them. That would be a nightmare. They wouldn't lay flat, and there's no purpose to fold them. And he said, oh my God, that's gonna save us so much time. So I'm not sure where that conversation came from, because again, That's not what happened. And then Beth called me again and said they wouldn't be ready on Thursday. And I told her that they were always ready on Thursday. Like, I don't, again, know why she was getting involved in this aspect. So then Information Services called at 3:15 and said they were ready. Well, I couldn't make it there by the time they closed. They closed at like 4:15, 4:30. So I asked what time they open, and they told me 8 o'clock, and I said I would be there at 8 a.m. on Friday. So like, I lost a whole day of sorting. And at 4:30 on Thursday, Robin, I don't know what department she is in, but something, she called and said she still needed to bind our books. And that she's not in at 8 o'clock in the morning, so I couldn't show up on Friday at 8 o'clock. I said, well, what time do you get in? And she said 8:30. I was beside myself by this time. Because again, I've lost a whole day of sorting. And she said 9 a.m. So I drove down there, I got them. The paper that they used this year, if they used 20-pound weight last year, they're using 16-pound this year. It's horrible. It's thinner paper. And they decided instead of those long, I don't know if you guys have seen them, 2-ring binders that are heavy duty. Nancy has a ton of them.
Mm-hmm.
They decided to put them in 3-ring binders with this thin paper that I have to flip up and down 800 times a day to stamp the book. They didn't use reinforced 3-ring whole paper, which I know you can buy. So the pages have already started to rip, and I have to stamp, whoever pays every day. So they're going to get them back in this big pile, which I don't care. I'm just telling you guys what's going to happen. Because it was stupid. Like, Nancy gave me a couple 3-ring binders because they decided to do away with these heavy-duty 2-peg binders that you could do anything with. Again, it's not... I'm a coupon shopper, but there's some things you can't save money on.
Right.
In books that I am turning back and forth every day, like I said, they're already starting to rip. The holes ripping out of them. So I just wanted you guys to know what the process was this year. It was not simple and easy. I don't know why all of a sudden.
But you don't want it to happen again next year?
I don't want it to happen again next year. I gave them $5,081,612 this year. We did, the town of Webb. I think they could afford, I know that's not all of their budget, but they should use stronger paper or reinforced 3-hole paper if they're gonna stick with these regular 3-ring binders. I don't know how to get that across, because as you know, Bonnie, they don't want to talk to us. And on another note, DMV is a big joke. I get that there was a major snowstorm on Friday, and she couldn't make it up. But every time it snows, and if they come in the back door, they stop at my office. If they come in the front door, they stop at the assessor's office. And my fear is, when we tell them to go to Boonville or Loudville, they're going to go over there and see how much snow they have. And it concerns me for our businesses here in town. Mm-hmm. Because they're going to go over there and get their registration and be like, shit, might as well just ride over here. And that's not good for us.
I know it's a safety thing on the roads, but it's really a shame because that's the busiest time for us is when it snows.
I understand.
And our DMV's not open.
Right, they got.
I know.
But I'm telling you, it happens more so than not.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And people come in and they're mad. They're like, "You looked on the website; it says it's open." I'm like,
Yep.
And I'm afraid for our businesses that it's going to end up they'll just go over there and ride, which is not good.
Where's the clerk live?
I'm assuming Herkimer. I don't.
What?
They came all the way up from Herkimer?
Yeah, she lives in.
They do, yeah.
We have a new county clerk now, so we can call
Oh,
her.
we do?
Yeah.
So we can call her and see. Sylvia's name needs to come off. It's,
Feels out.
Is she retired?
Yeah.
so we need to change that over. And I actually have a note on my desk.
She's young, so.
Oh.
Just call me
She's
tomorrow.
young and pliable.
Well, so maybe we could.
So yeah, we need to call her. I could, I'll get the, we
Yeah,
have
we
to
should
change
check
the
in
door
with her.
over there. But I wrote a note a little while ago.
that person always been appointed, do we know? Like Herkimer County appoints.
So is she
whoever's
filling
She's an
out a
employee.
position
She's a hired
because,
employee.
a hired employee out of Herkimer County, like Herkimer County in that office appoints
it's
them.
nothing, yeah.
So it's not like it's something we could just,
No.
if we did advertise, they do all that, so we can't even,
It's GMB,
Yeah.
nothing to do with us.
Sylvia
County.
got done before her term was
I
up?
get that. I'm
No,
just
no,
saying
no,
if somebody
no.
lived here, could
December 30th.
live there, somebody comes.
Oh, I thought she was on our
You know what I
same
mean?
cycle, that's why.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. The one that works there does have.
I never felt that
So
Sylvia
remind me.
took it serious enough for this department anyways. It always was closed or not open or different hours,
tend to
always something
do-
screwy going on.
I mean,
Right when people are working.
people wanna ride in the morning, and she doesn't show up until, I'm telling you, 10 o'clock,
Oh, yeah.
you know?
Then they wonder why there's a line 8 miles long out the door.
We
Yeah,
just gotta show Herkimer County that's a sales tax revenue loss. They go to Boonville and register their sleds there and ride there. You know, as far
I
as the
just
winter.
feel like we need more representation for Herkimer, cause what I went through was ridiculous.
I think we need to reach out to Don Hale. He's been doing a really good job about trying to make sure that we get what we need. So I think he'd be a good one to reach out to right now.
yeah.
And then the new county clerk.
Just want
Info tomorrow. But I'll reach out to Don too.
Right, I feel like they forget about us, right? Information services is wonderful. The treasurer's office, they call me back, Kim Enya is amazing. You know, we can converse, it's just the other parts that you can't get
Well,
anywhere.
who skimped out on the paper then?
I don't know. They didn't even buy Nancy's.
It went in a book.
They're in a
I
box.
can't even look at mine. I can't even get the box open. I don't
She's
even.
like, what are these? I go, your set of the books. They didn't even put hers in a binder.
Find your own book.
I'm trying.
Oh, Hamilton County up, Tom will jump in there.
All right, we'll get a hold of Don about that, see what he has
And
to say.
I'll talk to her.
Okay, perfect.
But I didn't know. Like I said, I don't see each one.
Yeah, no, that's just perfect that you let us all know at once. It's,
No, thanks. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
And sorry you're going through that. It's
Yeah.
very frustrating.
I mean, the
Frustrating.
paper thing is,
This has been going on for a while though, right? You've been dealing with this type of behavior for a while from there, right?
yeah, and so the
Like
bottom stub that I keep, usually if, somebody has 3 or 4 properties, you could bend them. You can't do that with this thin paper. You have to pretty much do one at a time.
Saving money, cheaper paper, no binders.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks, Kelly.
Mike, I'll get you that tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll see it anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Did you want to talk to us?
Yes,
Most of us have not read or some of us have not. I did.
right, so I just wanted to,
I've also read
send
it.
you guys something via, left it in your mailbox and sent you, an email, of the same letter and everything like that. So, mostly I'm here just, to see if you read it, like if you did, do you have any questions for me on anything, on what I'm asking for? So, I've taken a big hit this year.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. We gave out everything that we've gotten from the Macaulay aspect of things to the lawyer to look at for his opinion. Then he'll come back to us and then we'll talk about it on the January 14th meeting.
On the 14th, yeah.
Yep.
So then I was also hoping that, whether I could sit down with people too. We could chat about this stuff, right? I mean, to get more, insight from my side of it, right? No one's talked to me about any of this stuff. To say,
Just found out about it today.
no, yeah, I know,
So-
right, but, yeah, but no one, right, no one ever comes down and sees us at the mountain, so.
Oh, I'm there.
Yeah, but you never come and see me, talk to me, and ask questions.
Well, I mean, you could,
I'm busy
when you
too.
pass, I mean, just say, hey, I got some questions, stop in and say, I mean,
Yeah, I saw you once
Passing,
on
say
Saturday,
hi.
right? We just passed and I was busy, right? So
Yeah.
that's it.
but you say, hey, stop in, I want to talk to you for a second.
But,
Yeah.
but you know, it'd be nice to see people just come in, and I used to have a council person that used to come in regularly and just say, hey, how's it going? You know, is there any concerns or something like that, right? And then, you know, whether if there was or wasn't. So. I'm not trying to stir anything up here. I'm just, you know, I just want to answer questions if anybody has any questions or anything. And like I said, you know, I would really love to talk to some people so they see my side of this and not just looking at a piece of paper and trying to, you know, make a decision or whatever like that. I mean, I think it's really important that you hear all sides of the situation on this whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
When are you up there typically?
I'm typically up there every day. I am available every day, whether if I'm up there or not. Weekends are not good, right? Because that potentially is their busiest times. You know, tomorrow I'm off all day, so I can talk to anybody all day tomorrow. And then, so, I mean, I'm always available.
Okay.
So you guys, I put my card in there.
Yeah.
That rings to my store and inlet, but that just transfers over to my cell phone. So if I don't answer, you just leave a message and I get right back to you. So,
I reached out to you today. I totally get where you're coming from. We had a good conversation. I've been on this since the summertime when the chairlift came up. It's going to be ready. I guarantee it. Chairlift ready. And I've been talking about it since that happened. And obviously things come up, construction issues happen, and I would think we've been dealing with this in all sorts of facets of the mountain. So I think I'm with Bonnie. Like, I don't know exactly what the answer is now that we're this deep into it, but I'd be interested to have us discuss it overall, because it's not just your your rental shop that's going through this right now. So yeah.
Right, there's a couple of us there taking big hits, right? And when, you know, it's
And the people going there, you know, with not having the chairlift ready too, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would have not, if I knew this was going to be like this, I would not have ordered the equipment I've ordered, the inventory I ordered, and everything like that. So, you know, my bills are due now, and I took a huge hit. So, right, I mean, it's like I gotta pay for this stuff without that revenue coming in. So, you know, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Right? You own your own, I mean, anyone that owns their own business knows it's difficult. Right? And, so, you know, this whole situation is kind of changed the terms of the contract there too, right? Because it's not a natural event that's happened. So.
I'm with you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. So
I'll be in touch with you because I've been on the road all day, so I just took a quick glance at that. Once I read it,
yeah,
I'm gonna call you. I'll probably come up there and see you.
Yeah.
During the week so we can chat.
Yeah, and if you like, I might not be there Thursday. I am there Wednesday, but if I'm not there, you know, if you text me or you
I'll email you.
yeah, email me, and then we can arrange a time, right? And I didn't expect anybody to read this or anything like that, right? Because I just didn't give it to you, right? But I wanted to be here if anybody had any questions. So, you know, so I could.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ted.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. I appreciate you listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks.
Okay, next we have from the Community Health and Wellness Fund, Don Kelly, Joe Rentrona, Mary Brophy Moore, and from representing MVHS, we have Dr. Julie Perlansky and Steve Winesett, excuse me, not Scott, Set.
Been called horse, man. You want me to get started? Yeah. I'm gonna slide over just to get away from the show.
Okay.
Come up here. No, I could have before. Anyways, thank you for talking to us. How do I start this? We think that one of the critical things that needs to happen about the whole consideration of this possible sale of the health center and redevelopment of the facility over there is that we be as proactive as we possibly can. So rather than waiting for MVHS and then reacting to a proposal from MVHS, we're not arguing that for or against any proposal, nor are we saying that we need to come up with a separate proposal of our own. But we do feel that one of the things that we need to do is to understand what all the implications are, what all the possible impacts are of the proposed sale, and consider, in addition to considering just the simple sale of the building and development of a new building, we don't know what that'll be. In addition to considering that, we need to consider other options as well. So it's good to investigate as much as we possibly can. Just a little background. Mary and Joe and I have been involved with the Health Center Fund, the Community Health and Wellness Fund, for years. I've been involved with the fund since the late 80s, early 90s. The fund itself has been in operation since the mid 1960s. So there's a 60-year experience here of supporting not just that building, but supporting healthcare in the community. And we intend to continue that support. We think that support's been an important one because not only does it provide financial support to healthcare in the community, it also shows the community's commitment to retaining healthcare here in Old Forge. And we think that's really, really, really important. We've done some interesting things over the years in order to accomplish the task of retaining healthcare here. The Health Center Fund itself has been involved, as I said, since the start. We've supported everything from buying equipment. So we've bought everything from X-ray machines to the first set of electronic billing computers for the old Adirondack Family Practice was purchased, at least in part, with Health Center Fund funds. We've been involved with the summer resident program when Mark Webster and St. E's had the summer resident program up here. We were involved a lot with the transitions that happened from the private practice to St. E's, from St. E's to MVHS, and we intend to remain involved in terms of any other changes to the facility. In addition to that, we really have been critically involved, we think, the last few years with this whole issue of recruitment of healthcare providers in this community has always been difficult. We're not just talking about physicians, that's difficult enough, but we've had trouble, as you know, retaining X-ray techs, and we played a role in trying to retain X-ray techs here. In training and retaining a phlebotomist here, we played a role, a minimal role, but still a role in retaining a phlebotomist. We'll do whatever we can to retain nurses here as well, which always is a problem here in the community. Our scholarship program is involved with supporting people that are involved with healthcare studies, and we've been doing that for 30 years, and we plan on continuing. There has been some additional large expenses over the last few years. We provided significant financial support to Shelby Harwood in order to help her finish her training with the idea that thanks to Julie, she'd be coming here to practice. So we think that recruitment is an important kind of thing that we need to do as well. We intend to continue doing it. We do feel, as we said before, that community involvement in the facility is a really critical kind of thing. Joe's going to talk for just a minute here a little bit about the importance of the Health Center Fund to the maintenance, the retention of the dental practice.
Sure. Right. If it wasn't for the Health Center, I wouldn't be here. And if it wasn't for the Health Center Fund, I wouldn't have been here 44 years. They've been very supportive. We're isolated here. It's not a typical practice. Their support, financial and otherwise, has allowed us to increase what we do. Since we are isolated, we got into doing some more specialty things because it was difficult for people to travel. They were reluctant to travel. And the Health Center Fund would come up with some of the money for the equipment along with the town, usually a partner. And that was a wonderful relationship. So I've retired about 6 years ago. So we, as a result of the building being here and the support of the Health Center Fund, we've had full-time general dentistry in Old Forge for over 50 years. Before that, it was very spotty very temporary. Anybody that came was here for a year or two. So I can't say enough about the fact that it's very important to dental health in this area. It's especially important that we have a full-time dentist here. And the same dentist, continuously for the continuity of care. I'm afraid that some of the proposals made may lend to losing our dentist because of the inability to provide services during the time that they were talking about raising the building and starting afresh. So at that, building a new building would take at least 2 years plus. And doing temporary, just trying to set up temporary dentistry is impossible for 2 years. So what would happen is people would leave and go elsewhere by necessity. I've had experience with interruptions in services, and that's what would happen. And I can't see that we would keep or retain our present dentist who we're lucky to have. At present, there has been 4 full-time employees for 50 years in that practice, and that's another consideration. If we were to lose them, we may never get back to that point.
That's just in the dentist,
Just in the
full-time,
dental.
full-time.
So basically, it's just been the critical guide in keeping dentistry here. And to have a dentist here full-time means that the very young and the very old get service. They are the most at risk when people have to travel to get their dentistry done. Parents are up against it because they have to travel to bring their children, take days off from work, and old people just don't travel. So I just can't say enough about the relationship, and I've been pleased to be part of it. And I think we should take a long, hard look at anything we do that affects that dental practice. Would be a non-starter for any project, I'm afraid. We had an outline, and we were talking about.
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, I'll go next. I want to reiterate that we're not here to make decisions for you or anything. We know that you guys are the end. You know, you're the ones that are going to be deciding. We're just here as advisory and people that have been around healthcare for a long time, and that's why we just wanted you to know some of the background and some of our concerns. And again, I'm going to list some concerns, but it doesn't mean that we're against anything, okay? But just things that we need to think about. Forgive me for reading because I tend to so I think on its face, having MVHS offer the town possibly $1.2 million and promise a shiny new health center and not having the town be responsible for a building anymore sounds like a no-brainer. Wow, that's great. What could be better? But okay, that's good, but there's also some things that we think that we need to look at more deeply and feel that it's important to, for the long run, to ensure good health care for the long run in this community and surrounding communities, because as you know, we service, our health center services a lot of people beyond Webb. Some of the concerns that we've identified so far, if the town were to sell the building, first, as Joe said, the loss of dental practice, it's really would be as he said, pretty impossible to duplicate what's over there for a 2-year period while there's, I don't know what MVHS would be planning to do on the medical side, but for the dental side with all the equipment and the different rooms and all of the stuff would be really impossible to duplicate. And it's really not MVHS's responsibility because our dentist is not their dentist. You know what I mean? It's a private practice supported by the town. It's not MVHS, so they wouldn't have any reason to try to make that happen, to try to make sure that our dentist stays in place. So that's a big deal. The only thing that I could think of is if the town wanted to take on the expense of finding a place, I don't know where, but a place and renovating a space that duplicates something similar to what's over there and just keeping that in place forever or whatever, okay? So that could be an alternative, but just something to keep in mind that we will lose him. And Joe didn't mention this, but he delayed his retirement for a long time trying to find someone to take over the practice. And there were lots of people that were possibles, but they were not right for our community. He was really, really intentional about trying to make sure that it was somebody that was a good fit and was really flexible and able to perform all of the practice the way Joe did. Anyway, so it's not as simple as, oh, well, I'll just, wait for another dentist to come to town. It won't happen. So, and maybe you know how important dental health is to general health. It's really important, especially for heart health, and so forth. So anyway, so that's the number one thing. That's the thing that concerns me personally. It could result in the lessening of medical services for the 2 years, the transition between taking that down and rebuilding. And chances are good that not only dental patients be lost, but also medical patients. And once you establish something somewhere, it's hard to get people back. So even staff might be lost if the conditions aren't right. So just something to keep in mind as we're going forward with this. Of course, there'd be a loss of rental income. Maybe if MVHS and their benefactors would consider doing renovations to the building over time and not totally disrupting the practice, the town could offer incentives maybe, such as a longer term lease, a cessation of rent for a period of time, possibly just, something to look at to encourage them not to shut everything down for 2 years. The loss of the building in my mind, is also a big deal because really for a town of this size, the town doesn't really own that much. The inventory of buildings is pretty small. We don't have a lot of extra space in places. Anyway, okay, so I just think the building should continue to be, that's just my personal feeling, that the building should continue to be owned by the town and controlled by the town. Yeah, anyway, there's a myriad of ways it could be utilized, even if MVHS decided to build elsewhere in the town, which is another, we think is a great alternative if they would consider doing that, because you wouldn't have to disrupt any of the services. They could own the building. We could still the town could still keep the building and use it for whatever. That's their decision, of course, that's not ours. But it'd be great if they would consider that. The other thing is that we believe there'd be a diminishment of having a real voice in the say of what happens in healthcare here. We lose our physical stake in the practice, and the health center fund at least will likely no longer support its needs because it's not owned by the town anymore. Why, so that could be an issue down the line as well. And if MVHS's intent is to provide a hybrid practice which is what they've indicated, running a primary care office and an urgent care facility, we have real concerns about its viability. What's that? Yes, they did. We sat right here, Julie. Then they said urgent care. They said, yes, we could do urgent care and private practice. Well, that's what I heard and he heard and he heard.
We have
Right?
always said there's no way.
Okay, so I'll reiterate that.
Legally or.
Right, it's not gonna happen, it's not gonna be viable.
Actually, what they talked about was extended hours, which is what you guys wanted.
Right.
Extended hours, perhaps.
Right, in addition
we can get
to.
the staffing.
Well, okay,
But-
but that's to be,
Whoever
that's to
said
be
urgent
said.
care, and I remember someone saying it at the meeting, I immediately said there's no. So that.
Well, that's what I said too, and it was,
Right.
but it was, they, both Darlene and Christian said, oh no, this can be done.
I'll do our address.
Darlene,
We're over here.
regardless, I just don't like to be,
Anyway,
pulled into something that was never an intent.
okay, well, we all
And
heard it.
We also don't know
Okay,
the
so-
intent of NVHS.
No, we don't know. We don't know anything yet. And this is, a lot of this is really
Way too
premature.
premature.
It is, which is
May I
why we
speak?
really, didn't want to
Yep.
go into all of this.
May I speak for a minute?
Yeah, of course.
I totally hear the three of you 110%. And if you think that we don't have those same concerns, I'm sorry, but we do. And we
Well,
don't
that's
know
great.
any, you probably know more
I'm
about
glad
this
to
than
hear
we
that,
do.
Because, I don't know, other than you, sorry to say this, you guys are young. You haven't been around, just, I don't know what you know. We don't
Almost
know what
40,
you know
Mary.
about what's been going on with
Let's just
healthcare
say
all these years.
where we are.
Yeah, that'd be
Oh,
great.
please, we don't know
The
anything
original-
because we
well, we
haven't
are
been
very
told.
far.
Just-
The original meeting.
If we stop
Yes.
for just a minute, I think it would be a good idea, Julie, is that you and Steve can let us know where the plans are and let the, and
The bigger
let the
point
board
is
know
that they're
about where
really
we are.
not much further
We're not
than
there yet.
our first meeting, which is why nobody has heard anything. But basically, all of those things were brought up, but most importantly about the dental care.
Mhm.
I agree totally. NVHS agrees totally. We need to preserve the dentist here. So that has always been, and in conversation since that meeting with NVHS, I am always expressing that that's a vital part of the plan. They don't know that they're gonna tear the building down. They brought that up as a potential proposal. They need to change something there, okay?
Yeah.
There's no
Right.
way we can attract a doctor there.
Right, I understand.
It is not gonna happen, and to be honest, we're gonna not have providers there if we don't do something. We don't have the space that we need, we can't bring in more staff, we can't bring in another provider, but the technology can't be there. And in medicine today, the technology is critical. And you're not gonna bring a new guy graduating as a resident to come, it's a great place to live, yeah, I love the outdoors, and you wanna work in this office? To be perfectly honest, when MB first took over, that's when I purchased my home up here, and they wanted me to come up here, and then I got a tour of the office from Laura, and I looked around, and I said, I'm not coming here, this isn't the place, I have a beautiful office in Little Falls, and so it took me till, 10 years later, 8 years later, to come up here, but I commuted to Little Falls for the next 2 years, because I just didn't want to be in the building. I don't know what we can do with the building with technology. Christian said he couldn't improve the technology with the walls or whatever. I don't know what we can do with the size either. I don't know that they're, maybe really looking at tearing it down. That went out there at the first meeting, but there has not been a lot of discussion about that. So NVHS's plans, number one, is not, we don't know at this point where they're going in terms of renovating or rebuilding, or even going to purchase the building, quite frankly. They're still discussing.
Because that was the main focus of that meeting.
I know.
That's all that was ever
Darlene brought that
discussed.
up, and that was.
So we thought that's
but the
where
plan,
they were.
but the plans change when you start to look at all the.
I have a question. So, Mr. Kelly, Dr. Natrona and Mary, you guys are of the Health Center Fund, right? So we're two different. When you first came in, I thought you guys were all one group here.
Well, we're friends, but we're also.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So
There's a
you
committee.
that's
There's a
great.
committee.
So you guys are the Health Center.
Bonnie, Ben, Dr. Perlansky, the three of us, and is it Steve?
Yeah.
So you're part of the committee now instead of Christian? No.
No.
Okay, I
Dr.
didn't know.
Zimmer was named as part of the
Okay, we didn't
committee
even hear
in the
that yet.
newspaper.
The Health Center Fund,
In the
Was it in the
article.
paper?
And MVHS.
It was?
Yes.
sure,
Two different operations.
so I just wanna ask,
The same way that the town owns the building,
That I wrote?
the fund has provided a variety of supports for it. And I'm continuing, honestly.
that's what I wanna ask, so,
Dedicated.
so I just have a couple questions, I'm just trying to clear, everybody came in and y'all spoke, it just seemed like everybody was together here, so.
Well,
is
actually, I
great.
mean, we all have the same.
We're all together, we want
We all want
healthcare,
the same
great,
thing.
I
We
love it
all
over
want
there,
healthcare.
just saw Dr. Lister,
Yeah.
clean them up,
And
we're
I
good.
think part of the frustration is that we haven't moved in our movement forward, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the Health Center Fund is has been funding our building over here for years, right? And that's been going on for 50 to 60 years, is that what I've heard?
Yes.
Right? 1960. Okay. And the expenses and stuff, things that it's paid for, right, to help out over there, the things that you spoke of, Don, where that money's coming from like donors or,
Exactly.
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
But right now, the health fund is not supporting
No.
MVHS.
It's not.
No.
The dental offices is what we split like dental
And then
equipment with.
there are projects that they
Yeah,
help
but
support.
again,
I'm just trying to,
we do provide scholarships. We've provided, in the last couple of years, $20,000 to a couple of providers in a way, in an effort to keep them here in this community, and we think that's important. And they're, Shelby's working at the facility, Lindsay's working at the facility, those.
very important. And it's been through.
X-ray machine.
Yeah. I just want to, in general though, it's been through donors, local people living here and stuff like that. And then you guys are,
Side of things, MVHS has lost money consistently every year providing healthcare.
So I'm just trying to get informed. That's all with you guys just all set down.
Again, it's always taken some sort of an interesting and unique kind of way to fill the need here in the community. Whether it's what happened with Central Adirondack Family Practice, which is where there were, in the ideal spot, 2 full-time physicians in private practice working in a building that was owned by the town and in which the town played a really significant role in terms of payroll for staff that were working over there. That was one way it was approached. The other ways it was approached was in entering into a lease agreement with MVHS to provide the care while also providing support for the dentist. It's always taken some sort of a different kind of way in order to make that occur.
Of course.
And we expect that kind of thing is going to happen in the future as well.
Yeah, all the small.
I think when I first heard that they had an interest in even developing more for our community, I was already excited because none of us know what's going to happen over there. If we have doctors that are retiring, are we going to get somebody in that building? If Dr. Lister decides to retire, what are we going to do then? I mean, there is a future here that we do have to think about. And the first time when they said a brand new building with a brand new hospital, of course I'm going to be, oh, for us, really?
But back to your point, it's very preliminary. Everything's very preliminary. So it's all discussion and, maybe some more things get a little more serious and put out there for us to look over. It seems like it, can continue, the discussions can continue.
Is because to put the kind of investment into the technology and the space and what would be needed to really upgrade that center is huge. And
It's hard to do when you're leasing. Yeah. That's when you're going to do it in someone else's
The
building.
town can't afford to do it.
Exactly.
So I think it's a really necessary discussion. I mean, I think in the end, we all want the same thing. We want good, affordable.
That's what this is.
healthcare.
Yeah. Right
And
now.
we want providers that want to be in this community. And it's tough. It's very tough, we pay more rent here than a lot of the other, offices that, and the movement with MVHS, they prefer to own their buildings because they can control costs better. This building needs so much done to just make it a comfortable space. We still have leaking from the roof. We still have an air system where you're either freezing in one place and boiling in another place. We can't even out the airflow. We have potential mold issue as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, there are many things that would need to be, I think the handicap entrance still hasn't been fixed. And that's a liability for MVHS. So I think the lack of control that we have and the amount of investment MVHS would have to make, you know, has to also be considered. And I don't really
agree.
know how quickly they want to move forward with either purchasing or coming up with some other kind of an agreement, but,
I like the thought of incentives personally, but again, this is all preliminary discussion, so.
and I don't know if you've met with Darlene more recently than I have. I don't know if you know of any plans.
First of all, let me thank you for allowing me to be here.
you.
It's wonderful to meet all of you. I've met Don. Good to see you again.
You are again,
Sorry.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, you came late.
I was on time, 5:30. No,
I'm Steve Weinstedt. I'm
Steve
the
Weinstedt.
Vice President of Philanthropy at Mohawk Valley Health System.
Okay.
And I was working on a contract basis as they were building the Wynn Hospital. I live in Colorado and now I live in Clinton as well. We built Children's Hospital Colorado when I was there and did a big campaign and $400 million campaign. And so I was working with Darlene on a consulting basis to try to get ready for opening the new hospital after COVID had sort of taken a toll on the fundraising staff there. I think what is happening up here is very special, and there's a lot of unique challenges and a lot of common challenges in healthcare. But here in this community, this is more on the unique side than the common side. But in Utica, there's a lot of really positive things happening because of the Wynn Hospital. So in September of last year, she asked me if I would be full-time, and I agreed. And at that time started coming up here because from a fundraising standpoint, we had been sporadically up here for a day or two and then away. And the only way we would ever have a chance of finding more philanthropy to serve this community is with a more sustained relationships with people up here. And so September, I started interviewing, just seeing people who we knew and heard the same concerns that you're listing. In addition, I heard elder care is a major concern from a lot of people that I visited with saying, Steve, I don't know that I'll be able to go back there as my spouse, my partner, my whatever age is. We're concerned about the availability of healthcare. And so where are we? I think we're at the same spot, actually. My impression is that we all wished we could have waved the magic wand a few months ago and come up with the money to buy the building and figure out an interim plan, as you were saying. The interim plan is a major concern all the way around with everyone, because it's hard to fly an airplane when you're building the airplane. It just really is, as you know. So where we are, as I understand it, is we have a new chief operating officer, Dr. Bill Lacates. We have a new chief medical officer, Dr. Gary Zimmer. And those are the two critical senior people who are overseeing what we do and what I call the network of care, what I think the hospital calls community clinics, of which the health center is a community clinic like the one in Boonville and the one that I drive past on the way up here. In Barnaville, is that? Yeah. So they are brand new. They've been here a month one and a couple of months the other. And they've not even seen all of the network of care sites. So they are now trying to find the time in about the busiest time that the hospital experiences in the flu season, RSV season, to not only get the hospital a year into running more smoothly, but also trying to visit the network of care sites and understand what services are delivered where, how do those services relate to each other, and what should we be doing where, and how can we do that, as you were saying, in a sustainable basis so that we don't have to every year fight the same dadgum battles that we fought for 60 years of the turnover and of this and that. And it's hard in healthcare right now. It just is. It's hard in a lot of things. I get it. Healthcare is one of the more dynamic changes. So they are digging into that and understanding all of that. They need to see this building. Dr. Zimmer was going to come up tomorrow, but he had some problems with his home
Next week.
in I think New Jersey that he's selling. I don't know what the details are. He's not coming tomorrow.
Yeah.
You met with him before.
Yeah, I met with him,
the holidays.
wonderful guy, very.
They need to see this. They need to understand what the limitations. Kristen is no longer with the organization. And so these are the two key senior players and leaders who will be determining what the proposal would be. They are wide open to exploring other options of where we could build if we had the money, of exploring why wouldn't you just renovate and look at focus on services rather than the amenities. But as you said, the services have to match the physical plant. So that's an engineering question. It's all kind of questions. And if I've found nothing else in the last couple of years that I've been involved here, is that nothing moves very quickly. And so it is moving slower, I think, than we all would like.
And that we expected after that initial
Yeah, I think
meeting,
so.
that things would be.
My brain always turns, and I think this is important, and I just want to throw something out there. You know, to buy, I heard you talk about money, you know, and if you had the money, maybe this would already be done. I heard our health center fund talk about losing a spot and location. I mean, when it comes to exploring other options, you know, that building being torn down for the price, you got if you did pay $1 million and tear it down, okay, well, that seems kind of silly. Is that the best place to put up a new healthcare facility? I'm not sure. Right in our lakefront, you know, right in that area. I mean, there's a bunch of land for sale, 55 acres right down here on North Street, privately owned. I don't know if that's an option.
It's not for sale.
Not for sale.
Well, you know, it's something that, I mean, last time we just had a meeting I was at a planning board meeting where they subdivided, so I'm not sure if anything's gone through there. Just a spot, a possibility.
I sent up the line, the information that Mary provided, that the health fund provided for that site near Fast Track.
The old CNH.
The LCD lot.
Yeah.
They were not interested in that site. So they've considered other things. I didn't know of any other location that they could look at.
I'm just a big fan of just discussions and just putting stuff out there.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm not trying to tell you guys what way to go, or I know Ben and Bonnie are saying everything's sold, but
I just know they subdivided so that I asked if the land was for sale and he told me no, so.
So that 55 acres is not.
I don't.
For clarification, is that the spot beside the fast track? Is that the?
No.
Yeah.
That was the one that I sent up
Right.
to Christian. And
So if it's subdivided, you could still buy multiple divisions.
Well, right, you don't need 55 acres for health center.
Again, just putting options out, that's all.
Look, I'll be honest, with the three of us, I think.
I hope so, Don.
All the three of us would agree that if we had our druthers, we'd go back to, Mark and a partner working over there, the way it was, and, where you could call him at home and he met you at the health center on Sunday night.
Everybody.
Stitch up your.
That's-
I was there when it was like.
The difficulty for us and for a lot of people is that we got used to that as our model of healthcare for a long time. We're spoiled.
Extra 10 years, and
and same goes with the dentist, okay? I mean, I've said a million times that my kids and my grandkids, no one has to take a day off to take them to Utica or Rome for a dental appointment. Once they're old enough, they can walk from school right to the dentist's office, and then they can walk home. And that's a convenience that huge numbers of people don't have. And we'd like to continue as much of that as we possibly can. I mean, we like the fact that we have a family practice here that's able to do a variety of things and meet a variety of our needs, where you're seeing the same physician year in and year out, somebody who knows you and knows your background and knows your history, et cetera. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's the model for healthcare that's likely happening around in lots of places.
Yeah.
But you know what? We'd like to hang on to it here as long as we possibly can. I mean, that's really where we're coming from, at least in part. So it's encouraging that we can continue the conversation. And
I agree.
We'd like to do that. We'd like to continue this conversation. And, a committee was established. Ben and Bonnie, Joe and Mary and I, Julie, and then Representative
Christian, but I think it's Dr. Jim.
Yeah, and somebody else from MDHS. We'd like to meet on a we'd like to talk on a regular basis. It's not the easiest thing to do, but we'd like to talk on a regular basis to see what the developments are. As we explore the various pros and cons of changes to the facility, we've got some things that we can bring up to MVHS in the same way that MVHS has got things they can bring up to us about their difficulties in working with the current building. So we'd like to keep doing that. We'd like to really reinvigorate the committee and meet as much as we possibly can.
This is the first
I'm all
time
for it.
we've had an opportunity to voice our concerns.
Right.
Yeah.
Literally, and it's been 4 or 5 months. And we don't want to sound like alarmist or negative, but I think we needed to bring up the negative in our minds, our thoughts that, and our concerns, so.
And you're still citizens, that, I mean, you're residents, you deserve to be heard, so don't, you shouldn't have to feel like,
Talk to us too. So
Exactly.
Sort of represent,
Yeah.
trying to represent the.
let alone what you're doing with the fund and what you've worked with over the years,
But oh, sorry.
No, it's just, for clarification and for my knowledge, the committee is a committee of the town, of the health fund? What, it's,
And MVHS.
but who, you appointed the committee?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
When the discussion came up about.
And you're on
Yeah.
that, Bonnie, and
It all
Bonnie,
stayed
myself,
on the page,
and those
there
three,
hadn't
right?
been
Yeah.
Another meeting
That's awesome.
since the first one.
Right.
Darlene came up and
It's a tough one, man.
expressed what she felt MVHS would like to do here. And that's all we had going forward was that vision of buying the building, tearing it down, putting up a new one, getting better technology, being able to recruit providers. And at the time, I think we were all thinking this is very exciting. And then the nitty gritty of, okay, well, where are you going to work for a couple of years? And the dental situation is different than ours. I understand after
Yes.
speaking to you guys about how they could be supported in a temporary role is much more difficult, I think, than us, although we still
Yes,
have
yes,
x-ray.
yes.
I mean,
Yes.
to do what we do every day is a lot to put somewhere temporary for us as well, but I think I think it is impossible for the dental. And they made a commitment at that meeting to the dental to support
Well, to
the
have dental,
Well-
have dental once it's built. That I heard clearly. Oh, yes, we're
Support-
important.
And to support
But
financially as far as insurance and things like that, they did bring that up and talk about that.
About
Well-
what, sorry?
insurance.
So the
Yeah, they talked about the insurance cost and, the cost of dental equipment and stuff as far as helping out with that cost. I believe I remember them saying that. Darlene and
The
Kristen.
big thing that they were asked to do was to continue to support the dentists in a building, the new building supposedly, or the renovated building, just as the town has, the town owns. I believe the dentist is there, doesn't have to pay rent.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a situation that MVHS was told they would be expected to provide, and they did say yes, that they would continue to support the dentist the way the town had. I mean, that's all we have from them, and that we don't know, in the temporary situation is a new thought, I didn't think about it at the time. But I mean, these are all just issues that, again, need to be brought up, discussed, and I think until MVHS has some kind of a concrete moving ahead plan, number one, do they want to buy the building? Number two, do they want to work with, in some other way, something has to be done in the end. That building is not,
Yeah.
it's not a comfortable
No doubt.
building to work in, it's not a building you
Can we
can.
keep the fishing lures?
What's that?
MVHS, can they win an incentive to keep the fishing lures?
The fishing lures.
They don't mind keeping them.
Those transfer off.
Used to be a whole wall of them.
But even if
There's a cap.
MVHS doesn't have at this point much of anything to put on the table, I guess what I'm saying is, we've been talking among ourselves, the three of us, and we've got a lot that we'd like to just put on the table to have considered as part of that committee. That it still would be useful and worthwhile for the committee to meet with Dr. Zimmer, and again with Julie, and with Ben and Bonnie, and put our concerns back on the table so that everybody's, everybody's aware of what they are. and that we can talk a little bit about other alternatives, if those alternatives are there, so it doesn't come as a surprise to somebody.
And put it on paper to be shared, right?
that
Just
we're-
jot it down and.
Because it
We're
doesn't-
thinking about alternative locations, or we're thinking about modifications to the building, or we're thinking about other arrangements, long-term lease. Again, I don't wanna go through all possibilities, but what I'm saying is, we've sure been thinking a lot about stuff too, here the last few months, and we'd like to share those concerns once again with the committee. So if we can meet, again, sometime in the near future, we think that would be, or in the future.
Rather than
Yeah.
waiting for some proposal to come when they don't already have the benefit
Yeah.
of some of the perspectives that we're giving. I mean, it makes more sense for them to have those perspectives in mind first before they develop a proposal. That's really where.
So I would just make one suggestion about the timing, is that Dr. Zimmer and Dr. LaCates just landed. Dr. Zimmer, I met both of them, great guys, and Dr. Zimmer, like he said, he's not going to come tomorrow, but he will be here, I'm sure, by next week. Dr. LaCates needs to come and look at the building, because he's our chief operating officer, so he's the one that will look at the building and say what
Are
we
they the ones
really
who
need.
would decide all of this?
Well, they're gonna have input. I mean, I don't know who,
Is there a group that would
well, yeah,
look at it down there?
From the hospital
Yes.
side?
yeah, Darlene and.
I guess maybe the
Dr.
senior team of the
Zimmer,
board
yeah, the
will.
senior, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I
So-
couldn't agree more. I think that we need a cadence of meetings. Because what my impression of seeing and talking to people is in the vacuum, less positive thoughts are being bannered around rather than more helpful and
Right.
more positive.
Right.
And
It's the way of the world right now.
Looking to get
Yes,
it more
sir.
positive.
I think
And it
that
can't
For sure.
Preach.
I think
it takes a while to get on their calendars
Yeah.
because they are
Yeah.
terribly busy in the brand new facility.
And that's fine, I don't think there's any hurry.
But
at
if we
this
could
point.
schedule it out, I
No.
think that could be very
Yeah, that's
positive.
perfect. Settle in for a little bit
But
first.
Dr. LaCaze.
And I do believe the pros outweigh the
In
cons
terms of the.
as far as tearing that building down. Coming from a builder's perspective on it.
Yeah, they're gonna be fine.
Even, I do see you guys' concerns for the 2 years, but I do believe the pros outweigh the cons over time.
We don't even
With
know
that
what we're
building.
getting.
Yeah. we have
No, but I'm just saying with the
no
new,
looking at the
and
pros, 'cause
just
we
in
don't know.
general, even if there is a proposal that does. go
Buildings,
through, the pros do outweigh the cons.
Having a healthcare
It's good healthcare
space
support.
and technology that will
Yes.
continue to be providers in. is
Totally on board with
critical.
that.
That's all I heard from the beginning.
And also a building that you have to put minimal work into for the next 50 years.
How to get there, it's really all we need.
And that was built in 1950 and hasn't had any money put into it.
The front door, back.
And that will need to have work every year versus a new building that you might have to do minimal work to for another 50 years.
Does
So
the
you
town
got
have
2
the money
years
to do
versus.
what needs to be done to the building now?
They could do
Nope.
some of it.
Yeah, no.
Some of it.
Absolutely not.
It's been
So
ignored
that's
for
the
so
thing,
long.
you can't
Pretty much
You
ignored.
can't live in that
And
space.
now, We're talking about donors.
Yeah, we're talking about
providing
donors.
Money for this project, I assume, because
Yeah.
MPHS doesn't have it.
that is not.
No, no, they can't pull it out of the.
It's gonna have to
No,
be
so we're talking about a donor.
philanthropy, yeah.
Why couldn't these same donors donate to a town building?
Wonderful. As soon as somebody comes up with a
Right.
number that they need to do it, and then they bring it in, okay, have at it.
And that would get around losing our voice.
That's only what I heard from right from the get-go is a positive that we were gonna have healthcare for the future. That's all I actually heard, that it was gonna benefit
And that,
us.
and that if we don't
That
have,
is-
if we don't get a new facility or put money into the facility, we aren't going to recruit doctors, nurses, and anyone else.
Right. And the building is, we do have
They got nowhere to live
Where
anymore.
it's
roof
gonna be.
problems and air
It's-
conditioning
It's
and-
how to get there, Mike. It's not, we all have that same goal in mind. We all
Understand.
want
Yeah, it's just how to get there.
good healthcare for a long
How to
time.
get there.
Difficulty,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. But the difficulty of recruiting and retaining healthcare providers isn't just simply a matter of the building. There's the housing issue.
Yeah, of course.
There's the distance from town, there's all sorts of
Right.
issues. There's the, how much money can
Distance
I
from the
make
mall.
versus the amount of money I owe.
I know.
Nobody goes to the mall anymore,
So
guys.
there are a whole variety of issues.
Doctors' spouses.
But the space they go into, look at, where they're gonna work most of the
Oh,
time.
no, that's totally.
That is a,
Totally.
no,
Yeah.
contest.
We know that, and it's not just about the healthcare. We also know there's people that do not want to live in Old Forge.
Yeah.
Really simple.
For people that think.
I love it. I love it here, but there's
We're
people
out
that
here, we
don't.
love it, so, yeah.
See them come, see them go.
Right.
But I drove over an hour twice a day to go to Little Falls and work, because I didn't want to work in the office.
Doing
You know,
okay.
for the first 2 years I was here.
Well, I can tell you, when Mark Webster was looking for people to take over the practice for him, the biggest thing was the spouse or the family.
Right,
The spouse or the family. Like, he'd find a doctor that was, yeah, I'm into skiing, I'm into, I want to go there. Bring the wife up, no way.
No, very common, very
And
common.
the kids would come, we're not leaving, you know, it was over and over again. Talk to him, he'll tell you how many people.
Sports with the kids, we have soccer and basketball.
In a remote town.
Hockey's coming.
That was the first
So
question.
it's-
They asked me 55 years
The
ago.
hobby.
I think
His wife.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
very, very common.
Yeah, it is very common. Partner recruitment is.
Huge.
Even in a.
Not gonna have anything soon.
Yeah.
So our next meeting should be with Dr. Zimmer, and who else did you
Well,
say?
Dr. LeCate needs to come up and at least see the building before
Okay.
we have another
Bill
meeting.
Okay,
Because he's the
Bill must get
building
back to
guy
the
and
kids
can
and
look
stuff.
at it and give some kind of a judgment.
Okay.
But it's Dr. Zimmer that's
Zimmer.
taking over for
yeah.
Christian.
His
Dr. Zimmer
name,
would have been
Right?
above.
You think?
yeah,
Okay.
so I think for the time being, yes,
So
he's
he would
mindful.
be
But he's got a ton on his plate.
So maybe
He's a
wait,
functioning ER doctor.
maybe wait a couple months.
For us to thank
That would
Julie
bring more
for
money.
the continuity she's
Yes,
providing to this
absolutely.
overall process.
Absolutely.
There's a lot going on at the hospital.
Yeah, that's what.
Julie's provided a lot of continuity in terms of giving us somebody to talk to, who can in turn talk directly to the hospital as well. And that's really important. We do really, and she's still working at the facility, so, and that's important in terms of giving us information about the facility. So that's an important consideration. I'll make sure that everybody's thanking Julie.
Well, we did have a contact, a person we could call anytime and get answers about everything. We lost that. So you've kind of been filling that role for us.
And I think we need to thank you all for looking into the healthcare.
100%.
I know that I'm getting old and I'm gonna need it
Thank you
here, and
guys
I'm not
very
going
much.
anywhere, so I really would like to have healthcare here in the town of Webb.
More. So, yeah.
So thank you, everyone.
I got two families,
Well, thanks for your attention. We appreciate
Thank you, and we'll get together with another meeting as soon as the next
I'll let you
thing.
know after Dr. LeCase has been up here.
Perfect.
And then we can work on
All right,
Dr. Zimmer being able to be here. If he can pop over and meet me next week when he comes up, I'll have him do that.
okay, sounds great. Or if he's coming up, I'll pop over and meet him.
Okay,
I can pop over there too.
well, he's coming next week.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Just to see.
We're not done yet. What are you guys calling? I'm kidding. They should see Nancy like
Do the bills?
Yeah.
That was good, Tom.
I'll tell him.
So perfect.